Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving right into the actual physical hardware that makes all your software run. If you've ever wondered how lines of code translate into physical, electrical action, well, you're in the right place. We are going to decode the literal building blocks of VLSI design.
Just picture zooming in on an intricate chip die shot. Look at this incredible, sprawling maze of pathways. It kind of looks like a microscopic city, doesn't it? And the wild part is, this entire metropolis is built essentially on the sequential logic blocks we're about to explore. Whether it's a tiny embedded microcontroller or those massive chips powering massive data centers, they all rely on these exact same fundamental structures.
But before we look at the hardware itself, we really need to understand the bedrock principle here, which is sequential logic. You see, in the digital world, simple combinational logic only cares about what's happening right this exact second. But sequential logic? That introduces the absolutely critical concept of memory. Its output depends not just on what's coming in right now, but on stored internal states. It literally remembers what happened a microsecond ago, and honestly, that changes the whole game.
To make sense of all this, here is our roadmap for today. We'll hit sequential logic fundamentals, registers for storing and shifting, the processor register file, counters as the system timekeepers, digital counter types, and finally, real-world applications.
So, let's kick things off with Section 1, Sequential Logic Fundamentals.
Here's where we meet the two main characters of this explainer. Think of registers as the incredibly fast short-term memory of the system. They're the ones holding and moving the data around. Counters, on the flip side, well, they manage the time. They push the system forward on each and every clock cycle. It's really like a steady digital heartbeat, keeping the whole shebang synchronized.
Moving right along to Section 2, Registers, Storing and Shifting.
Now, the sheer physical scale of what we're talking about here is staggering. At their core, registers are built from D-type flip-flops. These are essentially tiny circuits that store a single bit of data, wired up in parallel. To put that into perspective, in a 64-bit ARM Cortex-A processor, a single register file block uses over 1,900 of these microscopic flip-flops, and that's just to hold 31 general-purpose registers. It is a massive amount of synchronized hardware switching instantly just to keep your data stable.
We actually categorize these registers based on how data flows through them. First up, we have serial in, serial out, or SISO, which acts kind of like a delay line. Then there's SIPO and PISO configurations. These are absolutely essential for converting data formats, like, say, taking a serial data stream from a USB cord and parallelizing it for the CPU to read. And finally, PIPO, parallel in, parallel out. This is your standard, super high-speed register used straight in processor data paths, where you literally need all the bits at the exact same time.
All right, on to Section 3, the processor register file. So, inside the processor itself, we organize these components into a specialized register file. You've got your general-purpose registers, or GPRs. They hold the immediate operands you're working on. You have the accumulator, which handles the direct math results from the arithmetic logic unit. Then there's the program counter. Think of this as the CPU's personal bookmark. It tells the system exactly which instruction to fetch next. And finally, the status flags. These track conditions, like whether your last math operation resulted in a 0 or maybe caused an overflow.
Now, to keep the processor fed, these register files are built as multi-port SRAM arrays, or static random access memory, and they are incredibly fast. We're talking massive bandwidth here. A standard dual-port setup can read two sources and write one destination in a single clock cycle. It can push up to 128 bits per cycle without even breaking a sweat. That right there is the secret sauce allowing your CPU to execute instructions so amazingly fast.
Let's shift gears to Section 4, Counters, the system timekeepers.
Okay, so we're moving from the storage side of the equation over to the time side. If a register is like a memory box, you can think of a counter as a clock-driven state machine. On every single active clock edge, it uses internal feedback logic to progress to the next defined binary state. They can count up, count down, or just reset after hitting a specific number. Basically, they are the indispensable sequencers that dictate the order of operations for the entire chip.
Which brings us to Section 5, Digital Counter Types.
In VLSI engineering, you learn pretty quickly that not all counters are built the same. On one side, we have asynchronous, or ripple counters. The clock hits the first flip-flop, which triggers the second, which triggers the third, kind of like falling dominoes. Now, they're simple and cheap to build, but that ripple effect takes time, which limits your overall speed. On the other side, we have synchronous counters. With these, the clock connects to all the flip-flops simultaneously. Everything updates in a flash. You get incredibly high-speed performance for sure, but you definitely pay for it with much more complex combinational logic under the hood.
And this is where engineers get really clever. Beyond just simple binary counting, we have Ring and Johnson counters. These are essentially shift registers where the output wire is fed right back into the input. A Ring counter takes a single bit and circulates it around and around, while a Johnson counter twists that feedback to create specialized, very predictable binary sequences. These turn out to be incredibly useful for decoding and generating custom control signals right there within the processor.
Finally, let's look at Section 6, Real-World Applications.
So let's bring this all out of the microchip and look at exactly why this matters to us in the real world. One of the absolute most critical uses is frequency division. See, sometimes a system clock is just running way too fast for a certain peripheral. So counters are used to divide those high-frequency clocks down to lower, highly stable, manageable speeds. That is absolutely critical for things like mixed signal designs or making sure radio communication systems stay reliable.
It also applies to literal timekeeping. If you've ever looked at the digital clock on your microwave or your car dashboard, you're looking at counters doing their job. They're basically accumulating millions of pulses from a tiny internal oscillator and systematically dividing them down to track real-world seconds, minutes, and hours that we can actually read and understand.
Plus, they are the fundamental tallying machines of the modern world. Event counting is quite literally everywhere. Counters track discrete events, from optical sensors counting products zipping down a factory assembly line, to super advanced scientific equipment tracking discrete photon pulses in a lab experiment. I mean, if it needs to be quantified, a counter is the thing doing the math. And finally, they create the essential timers and delays embedded in all of our smart devices. You know, whenever your microcontroller triggers an action after a specific delay or runs a loop exactly 10 times, yeah, that's a counter acting as a predetermined operational trigger. It holds the line until the exact count is reached.
Well, we've explored the fascinating foundation of sequential logic today, how registers hold our data and counters sequence our operations to literally build the digital world around us. But I want to leave you with this provocative thought. As our microchips shrink down to atomic levels and clock speeds push the absolute limits of physics, how will the next generation of hardware engineers overcome the propagation delays of tomorrow? The fundamental rules of memory and time are about to get a lot more interesting. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep learning.